on the 1 yard line with their backs against the wall. This ain't a game to me. If you think it's a game, get the off of this bus.
Hello, everybody. Welcome one, welcome all, and welcome back to the Bleav in Iowa State podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Carter.
I'm your host, Cody Vansylalom.
Cody, welcome back. Today, we were talking mid-show. We didn't really know what to talk about at all, honestly. So today, we're going to talk about and look at the rosters for both Kansas State and Iowa State, position by position. Just to see maybe at places where KC might have an advantage or where Iowa State might have an advantage. So I am gonna share my screen. First, we're gonna look at the K-State roster. We're gonna go position by position for them first. Then we're gonna go the Iowa State, and then we're gonna compare. So we're just gonna go through their list first. So I'm gonna share my screen.
Yeah, I think we mentioned we're gonna do this roster comparison. Yeah, and obviously this can be where to build. We can do this. I've seen this sometimes where people will put certain two teams together, do a position breakdown, and see who has the on paper advantage. So I think this can show at least on paper who has the advantages where and whatnot. So looks like we'll start with looks to be defensive backs here. So we have a couple of defensive backs right at the start here. We have a sophomore, Amara Fortenberry, Jaden Rowe, Justice Clemens, Donovan McIntosh, Siri Stinyard, Jojo Scott. And a lot of these guys, I think Fontenberry and I think Payne are the two defensive backs that jump out to me the most. Is there a depth chart by any chance? Maybe one from their latest game or something like that? Or has that come out yet?
I will look and see. That's probably better if we find a depth chart.
Yeah, because I think that will paint probably a better picture. Because with these football rosters, you see football teams having up to 100+ people, and I mean, a lot of times you'll see guys that are listed but may not see as much playing time. And
we'll just do 2024 since we're gonna base it off of that. Sorry. Okay. So, I mean, this was their depth chart from. Actually, sorry. This is bad. Sorry about that, guys.
this is just what happens when it's some weeks left until
yeah.
Dude, I think we're in the dog days of summer where it's everybody's waiting to get back to college, because I know it's I've been seeing that lately where it's 2 weeks, all this fun whatever, but it's 2 weeks until everybody gets back to college and whatnot. So I think it's what all just focused towards.
Okay, so we're sure just gonna change it around just on the flip. We're just gonna talk about really. Let's really just take a look into their schedule because and see, because that's really the thing.
Yeah, because I think we've talked about some of Kansas State schedules. We talked about briefly over the summer, but I would love to do a little more deep dive and maybe do a prediction of where they would land relative to the rest of the Big 12. Because I mean, Kansas State is expected to be one of the contenders, if not the top dog in the Big 12 to win the conference and go to their first college football playoff, just based on what's returning. Avery Johnson, they're expecting a big year out of him, and it looks like DJ Giddens is also returning as well. So Avery Johnson is going to have some comfortability in the running back room.
Actually, DJ Giddens got drafted by the Indianapolis Colts, so it will be Dylan Edwards in the backfield this year. Yeah, Dylan Edwards is going to be a full-time back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My apologies, but yeah.
All right. Okay, so obviously we know the Week 0 game against the Iowa State Cyclones. So they also have a game on the 30th, where this game is going to be at 6 p.m. They're going to be playing the North Dakota Fighting Hawks. North Dakota is who we faced last year in our season opener. Um, I mean, this is going to be a game for them. Like, North Dakota was okay last year, but this should be a game where they should be able to handle their opponent easily.
Kansas State will take on Army Black Knights out of the American Conference. Army is slated to be one of the favorites to repeat and win the American Athletic Conference Championship second year in a row. And obviously, with a service school like Army, you never know what to expect. So you got to watch out for those service academies because they can punch you in the mouth and possibly knock you out. So Kansas State will have to watch out for that, especially depending on how they play against Iowa State. If Kansas State is 1-1 heading into this game against Army, they'll have to really be on alert against this Army Black Knight squad.
Definitely, especially with the triple option offense that they run and with the ball control. Yeah, like they have to. I mean, the Army's going to want to limit possessions, but in order to counter that for K-State, they're definitely going to want to shorten those drives and then score, and maybe do the same thing and have to play like a ball control offense and limit Army's possessions, or maybe just score enough to where it gets Army out of their element to where Army is uncomfortable running like a tempo type of offense. So it should be interesting. Then they go into week 3 officially, which would be the 4th game of the year. This will be a Big 12 after dark game on Fox. They will be playing in Tucson against the Arizona Wildcats, and this will also be a non-con game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember this being a non-con game. Considering that this game was made prior to the home and home was made prior to the the Arizona Wildcats moving over to the Big 12. Because I remember that was the thing with Baylor and Utah when they had their home and homes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm sure that Arizona wants to perhaps catch Kansas State on a bad night and look to get a monumental win early in the season because Arizona is wanting to get back on their feet after a very disappointing year under Brett Brennan.
Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing like good things from them, and I'm pretty sure once we, talk with the Arizona guys when we do that preview with them, we'll see the psyche of them when we play them on the 27th, 2 weeks from that Friday. But they have the same bye week as we do, and then they get back at it against UCF, which will be interesting because this is going to be a Scott Frost led UCF team. So it should be interesting to see what type of UCF team comes into Bill Snyder Family Stadium on the day.
And I mean, with UCF, I'm not sure. Obviously last year UCF took Iowa State to the very end, and they were keeping up with us. They even had the lead late into the 4th quarter until Rockbeck had that amazing game-winning drive. But I don't know, how much different this UCF squad is going to be considering the Dom's fell, all the things that's gone on in Orlando. So really wondering how UCF will look in late September.
Yeah, definitely. And then we continue on. This is probably going to be one of the marquee key games on October 4th. On this day, on October 4th, Iowa State will be at Cincinnati, but they're on the road at McLean Stadium at Baylor. And by this time, Baylor will have been battle tested because I believe week 4 they play Arizona State at home. So Baylor will already come into this game battle tested, but this is going to be K-State's second biggest test at Baylor. I think there might be points galore in this one.
Yeah. I think this one can come down to the quarterbacks between Avery Johnson and Sawyer Robinson. I think that's an exciting battle at quarterback between the two. It comes down to which of those two quarterbacks can make more crucial plays for their team. And I think right now I might lean Baylor because obviously that's a field advantage as well. But this can go either way. This might be like that, like the old Big 12 where it was basically no defense But I mean, you have some defense in this current era of Big 12, but I think the scoring is just gonna be so crazy because of the talent and flexibility of the two quarterbacks for their
Right.
the respective teams. And do you
Yeah, I
think
agree.
that do you think this will kind of be like that what was it that 2012 or 13 game for Kansas State against Baylor? If Kansas State was to walk into this game having beaten Iowa State and being 5-0, do you think Baylor could pull what they RG3?
I mean, that 2012 game, that was actually Nick Florence. But that 2012 game where basically if they would have won that game and finished undefeated, they probably would have won the national championship. Or not won. They would have made it to the national championship probably. But like they just got blitzed in that game. It was like 52-24.
God, yeah.
I mean, it depends on how. It really depends on how Baylor comes in there, because usually you can tell a lot by how the first drive's going. If Baylor just goes downfield and just bombs it, and like the McLean Stadium is rocking, then yeah, it's really going to depend on the crowd that night. Because I already know either way, if they come in like 4-1 or 5-0, you already know Baylor's going to be chomping at the bit to get a win over K.
And I think also this game could potentially really help Dave Aranda keep his job because I know Dave Aranda's seat is going to be one of the hotter, warmer seats in the conference, given the start that they had last season, but obviously able to rattle off 6 straight wins to go 8-4 ultimately. But Baylor's going to have Dave Aranda on a short leash, and if things are falling awry by the time we get to this game, maybe this game might be the catalyst for Dave Aranda to get fired.
You think this could be the tarmac game for him?
I mean, if things are going
Like
really,
it wasn't
really
last year
bad
with
for
Iowa State.
Baylor, I was surprised, honestly, that they didn't they kept Dave Aranda around. But I think they realized that they gave him a chance last year, but now he has to really put it together here because now you have a much more developed Sawyer Robinson. Now you have Bryce Washington as a really good weapon. So I think there are going to be some higher expectations for Baylor this year because of the way they pulled off the 8-4 record. But
Yeah, and just to dive into Baylor's schedule real quick. I mean, you got two tough games to start off. You have Auburn at home on a Friday night, and then you're at SMU up in Highland Park. Like a playoff team at SMU, a battle for the Iron Skillet, so a trophy game. And then I mean, you got Arizona State at home for your conference home opener. And then they need to be careful though. Baylor needs to be focused coming into this game because they have a landmine on the 27th when they're at Boone Pickens to play Oklahoma State. So this is definitely a letdown look ahead in between Arizona State and K State as they're on the road at Oklahoma State at Boone Pickens. So they need to watch out because they could be an upset on the 27th.
so that takes us about halfway through Kansas State's schedule. After a trip to McLean Stadium, they'll return home for homecoming and they'll take on a TCU squad that's looking to build on last year. Had a really quiet 9-3 regular season. And I think TCU wants to build off of that to get back to Arlington to play for another Big 12 title.
Yeah, this could be a very sneaky good game for K State and TCU. This was like what we talked about a few days ago. A rematch of the 2022 um, Big 12 championship game. So seeing these two face off together again, it'll be an interesting matchup. I definitely will be glued to this game. It's honestly really going to depend on what time Iowa State Colorado is on because I have a feeling that game's probably going to be at like 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see.
Yeah. Then after that, TCU, well, Kansas State actually, they'll go into their second bye week. And I think these bye weeks actually are the first two bye weeks of Kansas State kind of line up with our bye weeks.
They do.
Interesting. That makes sense though because that would make sense. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so after that, they'll travel to David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, take on the Kansas Jayhawks in the Sunflower State Showdown.
And Kansas is chomping at the bit to finally get a win over the Wildcats. It's been 15 some years since Kansas last beat Kansas State football.
It's been 16 years, man. 16 years. And really, if you look at last year's game, Kansas State got off lucky last year that Kansas couldn't finish the job because K-State survived by the skin of their teeth in that game at Bill Snyder. Yeah, this is. I think the story in this one is: can Kansas end the streak? Is KU ever going to end the streak? Like, I think that's it for them. They're in their new stadium at home, so Lawrence is going to be rocking. Really nice stadium. I know a lot of people make fun of it, but it's a really nice stadium. But yeah, I mean, dare I call rivalry game a letdown look ahead before their game on November 1st at home, because it possibly could be. It honestly depends on what Kansas's record is coming into that game. But we also said that Kansas could start off maybe 5-1 or 6-0 with the way their schedule looks. So who knows? This could be a sneaky good game. It could be a ranked game for the Sunflower Showdown. So that one's going to be fun to watch. And we'll go into the next week against Texas Tech. Texas Tech, by this time, maybe they will have 1 or 2 losses. If they're really, really underwhelming, they could have 3 losses. But this Texas Tech game is gonna be another tough game for the Wildcats.
I want to see where Texas Tech will be at this point in the year, because we've mentioned before, and we've seen Texas Tech has put the bag. They've put a ton of money into their football program, so they're expecting great things out of what was it, McGuire? Trying to think of his first name.
Joey McGuire.
Yeah, Joey McGuire. There's a lot of expectations because, you put so much money into your football team. You're expecting big results. So I wonder where Texas Tech is going to be at this point in time. Because if things are looking really great for Texas Tech, this could be a crucial matchup that can determine possibly who goes into Arlington. So this could be possibly a Big 12 championship eliminator game.
So I will tell you their first 7 games, because that's the 8th game when they play at K-State. So these are their first 7 games. Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kent State, Oregon State at home, at Utah, bye week, at Houston, Kansas for homecoming, at Arizona State, and then Oklahoma State at home. So you could realistically possibly see them being maybe 6-1, maybe 5-2 by the time they come to Manhattan.
Yep. Yeah, 5-2 can still possibly keep you in the race for Arlington, because the way that the Big 12 is and what we saw last year, anybody this is the conference chaos. I've called this before.
Mm-hmm.
This is the conference chaos. You don't know who and that's what makes this fun. It's the parity that you've been a lot of people are looking for that they haven't really seen out of the big conference like the Big Ten, the SEC, because I feel in those two conferences, they're great football, no doubt. Those two conferences are great football, no doubt. But it's kind of formality. You can easily formulate who's at the top, who's at the bottom, who fills in the middle. With the Big 12, anybody can fill any spot. We saw last year with Utah being one of the top teams preseason wise, falling to near the bottom, and the Arizona State did the inverse, where they were predicted last in the conference and then go on to win the Big 12 championship and almost beat Texas in the college football playoffs. So that just shows the parity of the Big 12. And with that, Texas Tech could either be, like you mentioned, 6-1, 5-2, or who knows, they might be around 500. They might have dropped a game or two. Might have dropped a couple stinkers on the way.
Well, I do know one thing is that if they want to be considered somebody, they gotta beat Oregon State handily. These first few games, you can't be playing with your food. You can't be playing around with Oregon State. You have to beat them handily. If we think that you're the team that they are, you gotta beat teams like that. You gotta beat teams like Houston. You can't be going on and then dropping one at Houston or dropping one at Utah. These are teams that you have to go on the road and beat. If we're to Bleav that they're actually this team that the money is justifying them to be, then that's what they're going to have to do.
Right. Then after the Texas Tech game, another bye week for Kansas State, and then they'll be on the road for 2 games. They'll be at Food Pickett Stadium in Stillwater to take on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, and then we'll be in Rice Echo Stadium to take on the Utes, and then they'll finish it off at home on Senior Day against Colorado.
Man, so yeah, Oklahoma State actually has been a place where Kansas State has struggled lately. It's been a minute since they've won there. I'm gonna see. Hold on, I'm gonna look up the last time they won at Oklahoma State in a second.
All right, I'm taking a look here. I think Winsipedia. I really love this website. Have you used that site before?
I have not.
Dude, Winsipedia is so useful. So taking a look here in Stillwater, look like the last time Kansas State won in Stillwater was back in 2017. A 45 to 40. Yeah. So it's been 8 years.
8 years, so so there's been 4 matchups. So it's been a minute.
That last, I think the last time they played in Stillwater, I remember watching that game, and that game was right down to the wire. I'm trying to remember the finish.
It was in 2023, and I Bleav was it a touchdown that had Oklahoma State pull away, or was it like a go ahead? I don't remember. I'm trying to remember.
It might have been a go. I think it was a go ahead.
Yeah.
But also, because this was the same night that we had the TECU Jack Tri's Legacy game, so that's kind of hard to.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a go ahead touchdown.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So, I mean, they're already exercising those demons are trying to win on the road in Stillwater, but also, at this point, because we are. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. This would be their 10th game for Oklahoma for them, and then the 11th game they already have. On what we think the next week on what we think could be a big matchup. We don't even know what Utah's going to be. Everybody just assumes that Utah is going to be better. I think they will be better, and I am still holding to thinking that Utah's going to be one of the top 4 teams in this league, up with us, K-State, Utah, and Baylor. But I still Bleav that the November 22nd game, K-State at Utah, I think it's definitely going to be an elimination game. I really, really think that whoever, and the thing is, I Bleav the week before, I Bleav Utah is on the road at Baylor, I think. I need to look.
Yeah. Let's take a look. Baylor. On the schedule here. Yeah, no, Utah is traveling to Baylor. So Baylor's going to be hosting Utah the week before Utah hosts Kansas State.
Okay, so both of them could be on a letdown look ahead by facing off, or by maybe looking forward to their matchup against each other. Mm-hmm. And then Colorado, that game last year was interesting finish. K-State ended up winning 31-28 in Boulder. But yeah.
And Colorado was right there. I really think a couple plays go different. Colorado wins that game, and I think they may have potentially been facing us. And that's one of the crazy things. A couple of these games for these teams at the top change a couple of results, and you could have totally different results of who would have played in Arlington for the Big 12 title game. Because there is a world where Iowa State would have played Colorado, Arizona State would have played. Well, I don't know if they would have played BYU. They might have possibly, or they could have played Colorado. Kansas State could have possibly. I mean, they could have possibly played any mix of the top 4 of Iowa State, BYU, Arizona State, and Kansas State, any of Colorado, any of that mix could have possibly happened because that's just the beauty of the Big 12. So yeah, just to look Kansas State schedule. So where do you see the floor and the ceiling for this Kansas State squad?
So we're gonna look at the floor because on this schedule, I see. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. The floor, I think, for them is going to be 8. My floor for them is going to be 8-4.
Yeah, I have that as well. Like that's the bare that's the minimum. That's the minimum that Kansas State. Like anything below that will be more than disappointing in the eyes of Kansas State fans.
Definitely, yeah. I even think 8-4 would probably be disappointing for them.
Oh yeah, it would be. Yeah, it would be. Because I think last year they were 8-4, and that was viewed as a disappointing year because they had aspirations to go back to Arlington.
They finished 8-4 in back-to-back seasons because the year before when we beat them in there, they were 8-3 coming into that game, and then they finished 8-4.
So that's what 2 years in a row that Iowa State's made Kansas State 8-4 in the regular season.
Yep, and then ceiling. I think it's probably. I would say their ceiling is 11-1.
Yeah,
Whether that be a random loss to Iowa State or a loss to anybody else.
Yeah. I think, Kansas State is going to lose at least one game at some point in the year, whether that be to Iowa State and Ireland at Baylor, or maybe, say, possibly a letdown at home against, say, or loss at home, possibly, say, against TCU or Texas Tech.
Shoot, they could lose to KU on the road, too.
That could be possible, yeah. Because, Kansas was want nothing more than to finally get the monkey off their back of not being able to beat Kansas State.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a weird feeling, Cody, that the streak is going to end this year. And I know the K-State fans that were watching this are going to be like, how dare you?
I mean, do you wonder what the funny thing is, Iowa State finally got their 10th win of the year, and it was against, ironically, Kansas State. Who says that Kansas can't possibly finally break the streak against you?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Streaks are meant to come to an end. Like, you can't beat them forever.
Yeah, there's going to be a point, and with the way, Jalen Daniels might finally be able to crack, the code on how to beat Kansas State, because, I'm really curious to see where Kansas is going to be, considering the year that they had, but I think Kansas is going to be one of those teams that could potentially get to Arlington if the cards fall right for them.
Yeah, and speaking of K-State news, one of their linemen that they got in the portal, unfortunately, will not be able to play in the Week 0 game against Iowa State.
Yeah, I saw this earlier. I think I saw it off of 785 Sports. It reported that I don't remember the name, but he was a transfer offensive lineman from, was it Ohio State?
Yeah, Ohio State, yeah.
Yeah. He had come into camp, but he had a existing medical issue that prevented him from really hammering practice until the last month. So it looks like he's getting back up into football shape. But yeah, he won't be available for the Week 0 game against Iowa State. So really, I think this could potentially give a little bit of an advantage to the Iowa State defensive line, because now Kansas State not necessarily going to be fully manned on the offensive line, at least strength-wise. But I think that's what it's going to come down to. And we tried to do this early in the show, but the two battles I'm looking forward to the most will be Kansas State's offensive line versus Iowa State's defensive line, and then will be the attack or the offense of Iowa State versus the secondary of Kansas State. Because for Kansas State, their secondary is their weak spot defensively, and for Iowa State, their weak spot is on the defensive line. So it's just a matter of which of the two weak spots can do enough for their team to get them over the hump.
Which one can be the least exposed? Because that's what I'm saying. I think we can eat against their secondary. I'm really, really confident in our receivers, and with some of the people that said, with some reports coming out with who's popping in camp for Iowa State, I think that we could really take advantage of that K-State secondary. But yeah, that was a fun little exercise. But to end the show, we are going to take a look at some totals from win totals from our sponsor FanDuel.
Yeah. Last time we took a look on FanDuel, we took a look. I think it was the Big 12 conference winning odds.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if you remember that, who jumped at you like who was the most surprising to see with those high with their totals to win the conference?
I think. Go ahead.
I think the one that jumps out of the seat the most was TCU because
Yeah,
because remember, they had such a quiet year. It's like, wait a minute, hold on, TCU's up on this list. Hold on, and then you had to go take a look at their like the season. I was like, they did have a really quiet 9-3 year. So it's like, okay, yeah, just jump like that was the one that jumped out to me. But yeah, win totals. Let's see here. First,
yeah, we're gonna look at the Big 12, and then we're gonna look at some other ones that could possibly win you money.
Yeah. Arizona under 5.5. That could be. That's interesting because I mean, who knows what Brett Brennan, what they have there? There could be a possibility where I have to take a look at their schedule because I think the most difficult thing for them is really rebounding after losing the talent of Tedoroy and McMillan. Like, who's Noah Fafita going to feed the ball to? Now you lose your number one wide receiver and basically your entire offense because realistically last year the offense was entirely Fafita and McMillan.
Well, and that was the problem, is because they did that was it. And the thing is that Brent Brendan was struggling because he was trying to keep that whole team together, because it was just when Jed Fish left for Washington, for Washington, they were in shambles, and he was just trying to keep that team together. Now he can finally coach with a peace of mind. So let's see what happens. So this one could be an interesting one.
Yeah, so I mean, take a look at their schedule. I'm looking at their schedule. Hawaii, Weber State, Kansas State, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, BYU, Houston, Colorado, Kansas, Cincinnati, Baylor, and Arizona State. I think look at the schedule here. I mean, the Kansas State, Iowa State games, I don't favor Arizona at all.
I don't either.
Arizona State, Baylor. I mean, if Arizona could pull out the upset over Baylor, perhaps to give them a shot. I think they can beat Houston, but that's on the road, granted, so that'll be a little difficult. Cincinnati, they're also on the road, but hosting Kansas at home. So taking a look at their home games, Oklahoma State, I think Arizona could potentially beat Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's not as good as. And then BYU, given the uncertainty of BYU, I can favor Arizona in that regard. Because at least you know what you have at quarterback with Noah Fafita.
Right, and that game is at home, too.
Yep. And then hosting Kansas, that could potentially, I think that one could be a bit of a sneaky game, but I think Arizona could win that. And then Arizona's going to need upset somewhere, so let's say, so it's possible. I think they could possibly be 6-6 if they get at least one upset between Baylor or Kansas State.
Right.
They get an upset in one of those two games, then it's possible they can go 6-6 and be bowl eligible.
Yeah. And then we're gonna, obviously we know like Arizona and Baylor. We're gonna look at some other ones. Maybe just maybe look at some bottom feeders, maybe, or some teams that we don't really know about. Now, with what you heard about BYU, what do you think about BYU's chances for their over under at 6.5?
I think a lot of people are not envious of BYU now that like Jake Retzloff is out of the program and out of the university entirely. Besides, really, besides, I guess UCF at home, like UCF in conference, I'm not too high on BYU's chances like right now as we speak. Maybe they can win against West Virginia, but then where do you get your other wins? Because I would say the Holy War, but we know that could be a possibility of a Utah winning that game because of how mostly draining that game can be. We mentioned Arizona. I mean, they could. I think BYU could. They could find a way to beat Arizona at home, but
Mm-hmm.
I favor Arizona in that matchup. They do host TCU, and then yeah. So depending on the time the TCU game is, maybe BYU could spoil TCU season.
Yeah, I think one thing I am gonna say is one thing that could take them over is their defense is still going to be elite. So I think that's something that we should take into account. Defensively, they're definitely going to be a team to where they're going to be able to force turnovers and stuff. Offensively, for me, it's just going to be with a inexperienced quarterback at the helm. How are they going to find these wins? I think they're going to get led 2 wins. So I see them maybe as like 7-5, 8-4. So I think they definitely will be on the over for their teams. All right, wait, hold on. Let me reboot. All right, we're back. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean Cincinnati. We'll see. Cincinnati will be better, and they've gotten a lot of hype this off season. So we'll see where they're at. Another team that we gotta find interesting is Colorado. Colorado with the news that we told you that Coach Prime will be back on the sidelines after winning his fight with cancer, but like we have no idea what this team is going to be. It's a whole, and and for the first time, Colorado is just going to be just a normal football team. Like this team has talent. They don't have. It's not going to be the Shadur and Travis Hunter show. It's just going to be a legit football team. They do have some good talent. I have some questions about their offensive line, and how they're going to block Caden Salter and Lewis, the young kid that they got, the freshman quarterback. But it's going to be interesting to see how they gel. Their schedule is decent to start off. I mean, they got Georgia Tech to start in Delaware, so they possibly should be able to win those first few games, and we'll have to see where they are the first 6 games because they also got the third game. They have a tough Friday night game at Houston, and Houston will be an improved team. So there's a lot of these middle of the road, middling teams or bottom barrel teams in the Big 12 that possibly could either go nowhere near their win totals or surpass their win totals. So it's going to be a fun league to watch. I figured, yeah, definitely, man. So I think today, I think that's where we are going to end today's show. Thank you guys for hanging in there with us despite the technical difficulties. Just a few things before we head out, and some shameless plugs to end the show. We are a top 15 sports podcast in the state of Iowa, and we are the top 40 most listened to podcasts in the state of Iowa, both nominated by FeedSpot. So thank you, FeedSpot, for that. You can find Cody on Twitter at Matt Campbell Impersonator. Cody, I am pumped for SummerSlam this weekend. That's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great weekend of wrestling. So if you're a wrestling fan, or even if you aren't, I gotta see. I know we're having I'll be at a surprise party. But if you want, we can do a wrestling space. So if you don't, join us on Twitter, and then me and Cody will do a wrestling space for SummerSlam for both nights. So join us there. Join us on Twitter. Find me on Twitter at SideTie Guy. I'm not gonna lie, man. The White Sox, dude, I believe the White Sox have 41 wins after taking 2 of 3 from the Philadelphia Phillies at home. They took 2 of 3 from the Phillies at home, dude. Like all all the young guys are in the lineup right now. Specifically Colson Montgomery, Kyle Till, Edgar Quero, all that whole young core. It's going to be nice. Luis Robert is still going to be on the team, so I believe he has a $20 million option that they're probably going to pick up because they couldn't find really any trade suitors. And one of their starting pitchers they traded off to the Tampa Bay Rays. So we'll see I'll have to look and see later what they got for him. Cowboys wise, I'm really, really excited. And we also have football tonight. So if you got the Hall of Fame game is on tonight. So I don't know if that's on NBC or not, but I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find it on TV. It's Lions Chargers. So we finally have football. Wait, are we close to them? What's their record? Hey, I mean, with the way the White Sox are playing, they could. The Red Sox, you mean? No, it's okay. I'm sorry, Cody. What'd you say? Hey, look, I'm just happy. They literally. What's their? I'm gonna look at their record real quick. Like the White Sox record, their record. They have the White Sox. If the White Sox win tomorrow, they will surpass their win total. They will tie their win total from last year, and we'll be. And tomorrow will be in August. This time last year, they had 41 wins. They're at 40 wins right now, and we're at the end of July. So they're definitely going to hit the over in wins. I had them at 62 and 100, and I am predicting that that's where they'll end, is at 62 and 100. I mean, obviously, in a perfect world, I'd love for them to make moves, but I know how cheap Jerry Reinsdorf is, so he's going to make my life miserable, and they're going to stink again, and he's going to find a way to ruin this rebuild. And I'm going to be a miserable White Sox fan because we can't have anything nice because of cheap Jerry Reinsdorf. Sorry, that's my Twitter rant. Sorry. All right. Follow us on social media, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. And if you're watching on Twitch, also welcome Bleav in ISU 2025, Bleav, BLEAV. And also, please like and subscribe, rate on your favorite podcast provider, whether that be Twitter, Podbean, Apple, all of them. So thank you guys for listening. So for Tyler Carter, this is the Bleav in Iowa State podcast. Roll clones, baby.